So this week I asked you to do a couple of short interpretations just to hone in on a couple of points. One is the effects of prosody on meaning. So I gave you a sentence, and the sentence was, I'll say it again. That new dress she has on, that new dress she has on looks really good on her, right? So I ask you to play with how to interpret that. First of all, tell me what it means when you emphasize a certain word, and then how to interpret it. So the first sentence with the emphasis is that. That new dress looks really good on her. Well, clearly that means that dress looks good, but possibly not other dresses. So that information has to be in an interpretation. If we hear something that adds meaning, which prosody does, that has to come out in the interpretation. So it can't just be those words. It has to be what those words mean. So something like, okay? So that's an idea of that new dress looks good on her. Okay. So emphasis on new, which means that new dress, actually I just emphasized dress, that new dress looks good on her, which means the older ones don't, but the new one does. So very similar, but let me start over. I started thinking about something else that I wanted to say. This is not the only way to do this. There are probably 1,000,000 ways to do this, so I just wanted to add that whatever you see my doing, somebody else will do something different, and it'll probably be equally as effective. Okay, now, that new dress looks good on her, really good on her. Okay. Okay, so I added a piece of information that we'll get into talking about when you add information that wasn't there. I don't know that she bought it. Somebody could have given it to her. So that's not appropriate when you interpret. Just FYI. You can't add information. You can expand, but you can't add. So that's an additional piece of information. And that's a really good lesson just to stick that in there. So I wanted to make sure that I was authentic about that. You can't add information. You can expand, and we'll talk a lot more about that in expansion and compression. Okay, so now we're at that new dress looks good on her. So basically now what we're saying is the other clothes she has that are not dresses don't look good on her. Okay? So again, so then the emphasis is dress, and I have to find a feature. We just talked about functions and features in discourse mapping. I have to find a feature that is equivalent to the function of emphasis. Okay, so all these are using the function of emphasis. So that is emphasized. New is emphasized. Dress is now emphasized. And I'm looking for ways to emphasize. And one way is to spell. And you can't see it because I don't have the camera set up right, but if you point, that's a way to emphasize something. Okay? So the next one is she. Okay, so that new dress she has on could mean that all the other she's, or all the other people in the room, their dresses don't look as good as hers. Okay? So that's what I'm inferring this difference in meaning is. So again, it's the emphasis on she, which changes the meaning to mean this woman, but not the other ones. Okay, so basically, I'm saying that theirs doesn't look, their dresses don't look good. Okay. The other has on are really has on. I mean, I think the opposite of that would be that she's not wearing clothing. I don't know. So I'm going to skip those. Looks really good on her. Not quite sure how that changes the meaning. It does change the meaning, but I'm not quite sure if it's even realistic to say that. That new dress that she has on looks good on her. So maybe it doesn't really, it's not really good. It just looks good. Maybe that's what the meaning is. So let me just play with that. That's all I got. Sorry. So you can emphasize really, and basically I want you to think about how I've said it looks before, and this is what I think the addition of the adverb really does, compared to just being good. So that new dress she has on looks really good on her. All right. Something like that. I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to emphasize good. That new dress she has on really looks really good on her. I think it means what it means. It looks really good. The only thing that it possibly could mean also is that some of the other things that she wears don't look so good. Possibly because that dress looks really good, or really good. And it's kind of a shock that it looks really good. That's what I'm getting from that. So, something like, it's kind of I'm really kind of surprised that that looks good on her. And I'll skip to the last one, her, which means that dress would not look good on anybody else, or it doesn't look good on other people, but it looks good on her. And so the meaning for that would be something like, something like that. So that's prosody. That's how it changes meaning, and that's a little bit about functions and features too, because we use the function of emphasize and the various ways that both languages convey that, which is a feature. They conveyed it in several different ways. They conveyed that emphasis. So, hope that was fun.